these are the pulley wheels. This, and over here some like baking parchment, that's called, and this is sticker paper. You peel the stickers off to get the waxed paper underneath. That's a printing method to try to print that onto wood and make it look like a hand painted sign. When I've touched it up a little bit, may work, may not. The issue with the waxed that isn't wax cord seems to be to sand it, which makes it look better, and it will actually take some inks, because that greenish colour, which is supposed to be the colour of what hemp rope looks like when it's exposed to the weather, isn't quite right. It doesn't please me, so I need to change that colour with some ink. But that diameter was perfect. When I sand the plastic stuff off it, it goes a little bit fluffier and swells out. I think I'm going to have to put up with that. There's a little coat hooks on there. There's going to be coat dangling on there, which is something I saw on a picture of a bombed out property. And this other wall is almost getting there. That picture is a property in Kidderminster in the Black Country, which is somewhere I really would like to visit, maybe after the lockdown. We're into week 8 of the coronavirus lockdown now. It's getting grim. But that is painted onto there. This remains of the old staircase isn't quite right, because what that plaster is doing is that would be where the gap between a staircase and the wall had been plugged with filler. That's the idea of that. This is the dirty area, so the understairs storage. This is a bit that's actually been painted. That's a bit that's been painted up posh. I've already given it 2 or 3 washes to try to get that colour down, something closer to that. And somewhere around, though I've mislaid at the moment, partly in manufacture because it's been sort of assembled, is a banister rail, which needs to go in, but at the moment I can't find it amongst the general devastation. It may well be over here where the cart is still being painted, almost finished now, but oh boy, I wish I'd have painted that wicker before I put the wheels on, because you can see bits of green in there that I can't get at, and that the grass has a funny sort of if the paint just doesn't adhere to it very well. It must be the cellulose in the grass or something. I'm trying to get my paintbrush in between the spokes of the wheel, which means of course I'm getting the sort of umber paint on the burnt umber bit. And these are a few more. Needs another going over. I did that last night and it's been left to dry, just mostly so that the paint would stick the grass together a little bit before I had another go at it. But that's going to need another coat of that light brown and some careful touching up, and then I'll have to go over the dark brown areas again, and there's a lot to do. Oh, and this is in progress at the same time. This is the effigy of the Medusa, and I decided that before carrying on sculpting the arm that's going to be holding the severed head, I'll paint up the Medusa head. So the painting of that is in progress, and when I've finished the head, I will carry on sculpting the arm and the rest of the figure. And that's a little art activity I've got to do today online with my art group, having a Zoom meeting, which is fun but sort of distracts from the task in hand. And that's a sort of classical Greek Medusa shield face, which shows the prototype for the face that I'm doing on the little Medusa head over here. And yeah, can't find that little stair rail. Ah, there it is. That's the stair rail. Punch some holes in there and it will go in like that. This is the last, almost the very last of the second tub of lightweight filler, and it's got some cheap burnt umber paint mixed in it, and it's going to go onto there, this road surface, like that. Doing it one-handed at the moment as I'm holding the phone, and then when I've covered that surface, I'm going to have fun rolling my little cart through it. More of a drag than a roll, to get some cart tracks, and then that will be touched up with some black wash to go into the grooves, and then there'll be some sort of vegetation and weeds along the edge of it near the stonework. Well, this worked beautifully. It was good and hard, but then I realised I made a mistake. I didn't put any hoof prints in, so I got a little bit of the leftover balsa wood and just shaped the end of that into a very slightly hoof printy shape. And I've added some more material, and there are a few hoof print pock marks in there. I'll emphasise those when I put some dark wash into those pockets. You can just about see a few hoof prints or footprints going in different directions. And meanwhile, this is almost finished. Now this is the effigy that's going to hang from the dragon beam about there, and I've sculpted the other arm now, and the feet, and most of the basic shape of the dress and the severed neck, but I do need to put her in her time. So just looking at pictures of Norman women, that was the search there. The most distinctive thing about that sort of female garments in the early Middle Ages is they're always two-part and two-colour. There's always a kirtle over the dress, I suppose you'd call it that, or a cloak over the dress. So I need to add another layer, either going basically on that design or that design. Of course, that's not the most distinctive thing. The most distinctive thing about the female costume at this time is the headkerchief, the head covering. But that's not much good when you've lost your head and you've got snakes coming out of it anyway. So I can't go with that part of it. Don't know which one of those two to go for yet, though, as far as the over thing I'm calling a kirtle, possibly incorrectly, or the cloak. That bit of scrap wood, it's an old chopping board, has been cut to what should be an angle of 67.5 degrees, and I'm going to use that to cut some small pieces of tongue depressor with a edge chamfered at 67.5 degrees. Hopefully, if it works. And 67.5 degrees comes from my maths as being if an octagon is divided into 8 triangles, each of those triangles is going to be 45 degrees in the centre, and therefore to make the 3 angles add up to 180, 67.5 degrees in the lower corners of the isosceles triangle. And this is to try to make some medieval buckets, which I decided would be much easier than barrels, because they don't have to be tapered and chamfered other than in the one straight dimension. Let's see if it works. That's been of only limited success, because the saw, even though it's a mini table saw, is a bit too big for this job. But I've managed to chamfer them off a bit to the right angle, and I've hopefully got enough pieces there to, particularly with the guide block as well, to be able to make myself into a position where I can finish the job with the needle files, and hopefully those are going to mesh together at something like the right angle. That would be the inside of the bucket, and you'll see the outside. This is how the tub bucket is going. It is ridiculous, really. I'm having to, I don't know if I can focus, I'm having to stick each stave onto a piece of cardboard one at a time, and then go away for an hour or more doing something else while the PVA glue dries. I've got one more to go, which is going to have to be shaped a little bit, and then when that's dry I'm going to have to try to cut the whole thing away from the piece of cardboard that it's glued onto, hopefully without it falling apart, and then stick a base on. One of the things I'm doing while that's drying is continuing to work painting up the Headless Medusa now. It's surprisingly heavy, actually. The clay is green stuff, polymer clay, is much heavier than the other things I've made. And I've just decided, I just stopped painting that red outer dress, because I decided it didn't look like carved wood enough. So before I paint it anymore, I'm just going to make some chips with my nice hooky blade, that one there that cuts this material quite well, and make a few more sort of sharply angled facets to make it look a little bit more like carved wood. I think particularly on the feet and a little bit on the shoulders, and try to suggest more of an elbow up there. This is how the sign effigy is coming together. I've drilled and run a pin across through the top of the shoulders there. I'm almost finished the painting. I need to do the blood trickles coming from the neck, which meant I changed the colour of the tunic-y outer dress. Painted it green again, so it was green, and then I painted it reddish brown, and then I changed my mind and painted it back to something resembling its original colour. I've got to paint the shoes here as well. And then this is going to be, I was just going to take this outside and give it a good hammering to try to hammer most of it flat. And then the plastic will be stripped from it and it will be painted black. And I'm going to try and curl it if the metal will take it. I may have to use a different kind of wire other than paperclip wire, but that's going to curl in this direction around the ends of that bar there. It's inspired by the fancy wrought ironwork on the sign of the Mermaid Inn in Rye, and Sussex. And then there'll be two more pieces of the wrought iron coming down from the feet to support this sign, and I'm going to attempt to print that onto that by a transfer method, which I haven't actually tested out yet, but it involves printing it onto waxed paper, reversing it and printing onto waxed paper and then going onto that. The problem will be how the metalwork attaches to that. I can't drill holes in that, that's just too thin. But I do notice that very old signs are very often framed, they have like a picture frame around them. So adding a picture frame with probably not more tongue depressor, but probably with thin cards and half the thickness of that might give me the girth that I need to get 2 bits of paperclip wire going into the top of it and coming down from the feet. I don't know whether or not to have them coming straight down or whether or not to have it like a curly bracket. Probably go for the curly bracket, which is of course the more fiddly option. My work rate has slowed to a crawl over the last couple of days, but I don't know why. Getting a bit demotivated. Well, not really demotivated, just slow. But this is almost ready to hang. There's a little bit of tweaking left on that, a little bit of touching up the hooks and the hanging thing is in place. It's just making sure that those sort of staple shaped loops stick into there with the styro glue. I want them to be solid before I put any weight on it. And I've made another one of these buckets because I thought the first one was a little bit too small, so I've made another one. It's very laborious. It's kind of enjoyable, but really fiddly. You have to stick each piece on and then go away and do something else while it dries. And this needs a base yet, and this of course is a little bit too big, but it makes a good like a bathtub, which might be outside the back door, or a laundry tub perhaps.